Not like this. Only by pressing the wrist can you push properly. This technique can only be used over the table. Look at the wrist. It stays pressed and drives forward. If you don't press the wrist, it turns into this kind of push, and you'll easily retract the forearm. Actually, many short table techniques are better the more stable they are. Let me talk about pure side spin topspin. This type of spin is more difficult. Remember the principle for backspin. The heavier the spin, the more you must contact the bottom of the ball when pushing. For flicking, the heavier the spin, the more you contact the middle. The lighter the spin, the more you contact the upper half. How do you improve your accuracy? I used a side brush. Watch how I brush on the forehand. Some players serve a heavy topspin ball. Go more to the side. Reduce the forward momentum. When the ball has very heavy topspin, don't apply forward. When the ball has, players serve a heavy topspin ball. Go more to the side. Reduce the forward momentum. When the ball has very heavy topspin, don't apply forward force. Apply force to the side. Completely press it. Press the upper middle of the ball. In real matches, there is no absolutely correct technique. For example, if I block like this, it goes long. Then I can apply side force. If I hit normally like this, it may go long, so I can apply side force and contact the side of the ball. The same principle applies to pushing. Don't always go strictly up and down, or strictly back and forth. If I feel the ball is hard to handle, I will also push like this. You can see that some players, like Trolls and Lind, also use these techniques quite frequently. If you feel it may go long, draw a small circle from the side. Watch my acceleration, and it still won't miss.
I'm Cam Harvey, Professor of Finance at Duke University. I'm here today to answer your questions from the internet. This is investing support. A Reddit user asks, why doesn't everyone just stick with an index fund? Well, that's actually reasonably good advice. So it's really difficult for an individual investor to actually pick stocks. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, and you don't necessarily have access to the data. So for most investors, the easiest thing to do is to invest in a low-cost exchange-traded fund or an index fund that gives diversification, and you don't need to worry about the individual stock that you're picking. Civil Employee 4736 asks, is holding individual stocks worth the stress anymore? It is stressful, especially if you're only holding a few stocks, which is not advised. However, I actually recommend stress anymore. Asks, is holding individual stocks worth the stress anymore? It is stressful, especially if you're only holding a few stocks, which is not advised. However, I actually recommend holding out a small amount of your portfolio, let's say 10%, to pick individual stocks. You're going to learn a lot from that, and you should keep track record of your investments, and it's also fun. Yad Killer G asks, why do so many people say that gold is a bad investment while the returns are consistent and sometimes better than the S&P 500? Well, gold is a very interesting investment in that it's the oldest investment in history. We've held gold for millennia, and gold has got this safe haven status. So when there's market turmoil or economic turmoil, it tends to hold its value over the long term. But that said, gold is volatile. And most people don't realize that gold is about as volatile as the S&P 500. Garth Ferguson 69 asks, if you had $20,000 today, how would you invest it? What I recommend is most of that investment goes into a combination of equity, meaning a diversified equity portfolio, not just the US, but international as well as the US, and then some portion to a money market fund to earn the maximum yield, so a smaller portion. And then what I recommend is holding out some. So hold out 5 to 10%. And with that, invest in stocks that you've researched. Do the work. Actually follow them, collect information, and make investments. It is something that is valuable for you in terms of learning what's important for valuation of these stocks, and it's also important for you to measure the performance of your picks. Fire Tyrant asked the question, how much international allocation do you have in your portfolio? Most investors don't have enough international allocation, that their portfolio is dominated by US investments. And it turns out that historically they've done fine because the US has done really well. So if you think about today in terms of the overall value of stock markets, it's extraordinary that the US stocks are worth 50% of the world value of all stocks. And let me put that number in context of GDP. So the US is only 15% of world GDP, yet 50% of the value of all stocks. So it's a good idea to have some diversification where you're buying stocks outside of the US. So an exchange traded fund that has allocation to the US as well as other developed markets and emerging markets. So the simple answer to the question is 50% international, 50% US. Olives 82 asks, what's the deal with the AI bubble? What are the implications and ramifications of an AI bubble burst? The value of stocks that are related to AI has exploded. Indeed, most of the value creation in the stock market over the last year is due to stocks that are related to AI. And it's a reasonable question. What if the AI bubble bursts? Is this 1999? And that was the year just before the tech bubble burst in 2000. So I argue that today is definitely different. And this talk of the AI bubble bursting, there might be a correction, but this time it's sufficiently different that I think it's lower probability. So in particular, what are the differences? So number one, the technological disruption of AI is far different than the introduction of the internet in the 1990s. Think of the internet as something that allows you to collect information efficiently, and it allows you to socialize. AI is completely different. AI not just collects information, it can be creative. It can solve problems. The implications for productivity are vast. So number two difference, the internet in the late 1990s had really a differential effect. Some companies were really impacted, other companies were not. Well, with AI today, every company is impacted. Indeed, even within a company, there could be hundreds of different applications of AI. So this disruption is much more diversified. It touches everything. Number three is this idea of self-disruption. And this idea is a bit complex. And that is that companies today are more than willing to initiate projects that destroy or weaken parts of their existing business. So think of, I'll just give an example, Tesla. Many people think that Tesla is a car company. Tesla is not a car company. It is a robotics company. And they're more than willing to invest into Tesla. Many people think that Tesla is a car company. Tesla is not a car company. It is a robotics company. And they're more than willing to invest in technology to disrupt the business lines that are making them money. So the last point is the fundamentals of these companies. If you look back in the 1990s, people were betting on future earnings, that the earnings were not really growing that much, whereas today it's completely different. These firms are massively profitable. For West of the Moon 4 asks, why does the PE ratio matter to me as an investor? So the PE ratio is a very popular way to think about the valuation of a stock. So the P is the stock price, and the E is the earnings per share. There's often a second version of this where you divide the price by the expected earnings rather than the past earnings. So both of these are common measures, and this is a measure of valuation. So the idea here is if the PE is very high compared to, let's say, the stock's history, then there is a substantial probability that the stock price will revert to its previous PE. So stocks that have very high PEs are often called expensive, and stocks with very low PEs are often called cheap. And we should be careful with these definitions because a stock might have a very low PE because it's in distress. It's not cheap, it's just in distress. But again, this is an indicator of valuation and very popular. Indeed, there is the PE for the market as a whole, and that PE for the S&P 500 is very high. And when you look historically at the PE and then look at returns for not the next year, but the next number of years, there is a very clear relationship. So when the market has a very high PE, and this kind of makes sense, because with a very high PE, this might indicate overvaluation or expensiveness, and there'll be a reversion to what is more normal. So the PE is a very important indicator for the market as a whole and for individual securities. User Shanananananananan. Anyone using AI tools for investing? Well, there's a lot of people using AI tools for investing. One key thing in using any tool is to understand how it works. Those that are using AI tools are large institutional asset managers that have a team of people that are trained in artificial intelligence and machine learning. They know exactly what these programs are doing. They understand the implications, and they fine-tune the applications to vast amount of data. So this is an application of AI that makes sense. makes sense. Typical Broccoli 325 asks, can the stock market really keep returning 7% a year? So 7% is the long-term average return on the S&P 500. And sometimes it's greater than 7%, like last year, and sometimes it's a lot less. And this is the notion of volatility. So the stock market is a volatile investment, and the 7% is a longer term average of performance. So one mistake investors make is they invest in the market, it goes down, and then they bail out, and then they wait for the market to go up before buying in again. So in order to get this 7% over the longer term, you need to be in the market and to ride out these episodes where the stock market draws down. And if you do that, then this longer term return is obtainable. It's not guaranteed, but it's obtainable. And really what this return is two components. The 7% is composed of a real return and an inflation compensation. So if we think of inflation at 2%, which is the Fed's target, the return that you're getting, the real return after inflation, is about 5%. Doom Shalit asks, what percentage of your portfolio should be in crypto? So number one, crypto is a very broad category. So there are cryptos like Bitcoin that are not backed by anything. They have value because people believe they have value. And then there's another class of cryptos that are actually backed by something. So think of a stable coin that's backed by US dollars, or a tokenized version of gold. In terms of your portfolio, I would be careful. It's a big mistake, in my opinion, just to invest in crypto. I'm okay having some exposure to crypto, but this is not the type of investment that warrants, for example, a 10% of your portfolio. It's more on the side of like 2 to 4%, and be careful when you do that. So Successful War 5671 asks the question, what's one investing mistake beginners always repeat? That one's easy. So the biggest mistake that beginner investors make, and I hate to say even non-beginners, is this idea of buying high and selling low. So let me unpack that. The best strategy, of course, is to buy something when the price is low and then sell it when the price is high. Make a profit. But it's often the case that a stock goes up in value. It attains a lofty valuation, and then people buy it because they've seen that the price has gone up. And when you buy high, you're often disappointed because at that very high valuation, that's the point where people are giving it a second thought, and there could be a correction. Scrum Julios asks, does the brokerage I use matter? Brokerage definitely matters, and it really depends upon the investor's needs. So, for example, if you're younger, it's probably best to use a very low-cost broker, for example, Robinhood or Schwab, and this allows you access to stocks and trading and different products like exchange-traded funds at extremely low fees. However, for more mature investors, and in particular investors that are older in age, like me, you go to a broker that is much more expensive in terms of fees, and they charge, let's say, 0.5% to 1% fixed per year, but they offer other services. So you might need some legal advice on an investment, you might need advice for the planning of your estate, and they provide services like this for you as part of the deal. And it turns out that that can be very valuable. So Helpful Raisin 5782 asks, what's your process for researching a new stock you might invest in? So number one, I recommend investing most of your funds in a diversified index fund. But I also advocate holding part of your portfolio for individual stocks that you pick. And let me describe my process. So, number one, I'm looking at the news very carefully, but in particular, a company and all of its news, whether it's in the main media or the information that it releases. So look at its annual report, its quarterly releases, the 10K filing with the SEC. And what I also look at is analyst coverage, if that's available. So there's many people out there commenting on individual companies. Collect that information. And then one thing that I particularly like is the quarterly earnings call. So this is a situation where the company announces its earnings and takes unscripted questions from the audience. So this is not responses that are vetted by lawyers or anything like that. And we know that all of the official company materials, like the 10K, have been very carefully vetted by a legal team. The next thing is to look at the fundamentals of the company. So just because the company has gone up in value, that's not a sufficient reason to invest in that company. Indeed, it might be the opposite. It might be that the price has gone up so dramatically that you missed the boat and you need to step back and exercise restraint and avoid this company until there's a correction in the value. And when the value corrects, then you actually enter and buy. So Charming Jury 8688 asked the question, is there a way for an average Joe like me to participate in private equity companies? I wish. So there are so many exciting companies out there that are not available to the average investor. Think of SpaceX for an example. So you can't buy into that company. You need to be what's known as a qualified investor. So in the US, to be a qualified investor, you need to make a certain amount of money. So even though you might be quite knowledgeable, you might not be allowed to buy into the equity of companies that are not listed on an exchange. And that's the definition of non-public equity, or sometimes people call it private equity. So private companies and equity. So often what happens with these private companies is at some point they do an initial public offering and that private equity turns into public equity. And this is unfortunate. And let me give you a very tangible example. You've got somebody that has got an advanced degree in biology and they decided not to go the university route, but they're a high school biology teacher. And as a hobby, they're an expert in biotech. That's a flaw with our system. It should change. So to be qualified in terms of the way I think about it, you should be able to do your research and pass a test or something like that to be deemed qualified. And these companies should be made available to a broader set of investors. It's just not fair that only those that are rich get to invest in these very exciting stocks. User Just Another Boy has got the following question. Are people really making money with meme coins? Okay, so meme coin is a type of cryptocurrency. It's got no fundamental value, meaning it's not backed by anything. It's more traded for fun, like trading cards and things like that. These meme coins are extremely volatile. So if you think the stock market is volatile, these are 20 to 100 times more volatile than the stock market. So that means extreme moves up, extreme moves down. There's no evidence that I know that a portfolio of meme coins makes any money. So you might get lucky and the meme coin that you buy goes dramatically up in value, but more likely you lose everything. So if you're going to invest in a meme coin, make sure when you put your money in that you're fully prepared to lose 100% of those funds. Double A plus Ron has got the question, my company gave me stock options. How do they work? So options provide the awardee, the employee, the right to buy the stock in the future at a particular price. So this is a call option, and it's very long dated. So think of the following situation where the stock is trading at $90, and then the employee gets some options to buy the stock in 5 years at the price of 400. So the price today is 90, is way lower than the 400. But you never know what happens in the 5 years. So maybe the price of the stock goes up to $1,000. So now the employee's got the right to buy stock for 400, and then they can sell it immediately for 1,000. So it's worth $600. Companies do this. It's a way to compensate employees. It's also a way to retain employees, where your stock that you've got the right to buy, you need to be like an employee to actually do it. So people tend to stick around. So this is a popular way to retain employees, and it's also kind of cheap for the company in terms of cash flow. So again, this is popular. It aligns incentives. So the employee actually wants to do everything possible to make sure the stock is worth as much as possible, ideally the $1,000, because that's when they're going to get the big payday. Electronic Doctor asks, potentially obvious question, but is Mad Money just insider trading? Well, insider trading's got a very specific meaning, and obviously you should do everything possible to avoid being tempted by insider trading. So insider trading is when you've got some non-public information. So somebody has tipped you about a big deal that the company is making, or you've got somebody that tips you about results of a clinical trial. This is not stuff used for trading. It's unfair, unethical, and illegal. However, stuff that's on TV or video or on the internet, that's public information. So they could be talking up a stock, and sometimes people take that advice, buy the stock, the price goes up because people are buying. This is especially the case with very small stocks where there's not that much trading, and a sufficient number of buyers could dramatically drive the price up for a while. So just taking advice from some pundit or on the internet, in forums, stuff like that is fine. It's where you get information from an insider of the company and trade upon that will get you into trouble. So Sisted Wister asks, why is day trading considered so hard? So day trading is hard to make money off of for the average investor. So day trading is essentially buying and selling the stocks every day, trying to capitalize on trends or things like that. And it's really hard to make money because there are competitors that are doing this at institutional grade scale. So these are the hedge funds, the high frequency traders that have massive computing resources, data feeds that are incredibly fast, software that they've developed on their own with their team of engineers. This is very difficult to trade against, and that's your competition. So the day traders don't make money because effectively they're trading against these high-powered institutional traders. So day trading is something I definitely do not recommend. So Jana DD126 asks, what exactly is a hedge fund, and what does a hedge fund manager do? So there are many different types of hedge funds, different styles. Let me describe the most common style. And this is an equity hedge fund that has got part of their portfolio where they buy stocks and another part of their portfolio where they short or
Your turn to pick. Remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Your turn to pick. Prepare for battle.
Watch them flee. You can call this one. I've never lost, and I'll not stop now. Cut and run. Is a solemn undertaking. The wise flee by footfalls. Shriek when you
The
see
battle
me.
begins.
Terror steals across the land. She's a long road.
It's over, mga sir!
Athwart my path. Cut and run. Watch them flee. Athwart my path. His mind is his necrosis. Shattered mirror. Shield myself. evolve.
Denied.
Shriek when you see me. I steal ahead. Give way. Hitting my stride.
Dire's courier has been killed.
Watch my path. This is so cut and run. My level best. The path of darkness. Cursed be. Watch them flee. It's a long dispossessed. I know foul. Wise, my increase. Shall my enemies know death? She's a monster.
Dire's courier has been killed.
I'm under attack. My true nature rises. No. None will escape. I come full circle. I steal ahead. This is solemn undertaking. Strike a nerve. Watch my path.
Radiant's courier has been killed.
Wise, heed my footfalls. Shriek when you see me. A twist of my knife.
The enemy's middle tower has been denied. Your top tower is under attack.
Watch them flee. Give way. The path of darkness. Tempt my blade, why don't you?
Your bottom tower is under
And
attack.
run. Cursed be. Fear he who fears heaven. I tear you asunder.
队友不会生气吧，哥哥？
Gaze is the measure of all things. Shriek when you see me. Cut and run. Give way. Wise, flee my footfalls. A demon's head. Cursed be the silent house. I'm under attack.
生气吧，哥哥？
Conjuration.
Radiant's courier has been killed.
Watch them flee. Like cherry carnage. I steal you ahead. Cut and run.
Dire structures are fortified.
Fear he who fears nothing. And tear you asunder. On the move.
Who's mine?
Shriek when you see me. Tempt my blade, why don't you? Messed up my knife.
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen.
Strike a nerve.
Your top tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. Radiant's turret has been killed.
The forest is mine.
An Arcanist sentry. Bountiful.
Watch them flee. Give way.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your top tower is under attack.
Bottom is missing.
Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower is under attack.
Cherry carnage.
Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower has fallen. Dire's courier has been killed.
Striking his head by blade, why don't you? My thanks will come next. In least respect. Watch them flee.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Stalking. Out of my way. Crushing skirmish. She's a the silk branches shall obey. Give way. I steam ahead. Eyes free my footfalls. Clenched fist and my knife. On the move.
Your top tower is under attack.
Watch them flee. Corpses. Cut and run. Present me. Cut and chase.
Radiant structures are fortified. Your middle tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified.
Boy, fresh nailed. Watch them flee.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Crushing skirmish. It's a solemn undertaking. She's a When you see me, I tear you asunder. Watch them flee. The path of darkness. I'm not ready. I steal ahead. Tis a solemn undertaking. Hitting my stride wise, free my footfalls. Cut and dry. On the move. Athwart my path.
I shall not be given.
Tis a law. Fear he who fears not my path. Crushing skirmish. Conjuration.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Darkness. First up my learning. This. Shriek when you see me. I carry carnage.
Dire's turret. Enemies blocking. Your middle tower is under attack.
Cursed be.
Your middle tower has fallen. Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower is under attack.
Athwart my path.
Your top tower is under attack.
Thrust you ahead. Give way. Fair exchange. Path of darkness. My eminence grows. The twist of my knife. She's a
Dire structures are fortified. Your middle tower is under attack.
wise. Try my footfalls, you. My serious.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Watch them flee. Take my blade like this. It is a crashing skirmish. Now you suffer. A cherry carnage.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Shriek when you see me. Ultimate statue.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Cut and run.
Your bottom tower has fallen.
Darkness.
Your bottom tower is under attack. Your bottom tower is under attack.
Black Kimbar. Conjuration. Tempt God to advance you.
Your bottom tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified. Your bottom tower is under attack.
Sephiroth. Twist of my knife.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Hitting my stride.
Your middle tower is under attack.
I run
Your middle tower has fallen.
Quiver and quail.
Your bottom tower is under attack. Your bottom tower has fallen.
Tis a solemn undertaking. Tis a solemn undertaking.
Roshan has fallen to the Radiant.
Athwart my path. I steal ahead. Fear he who fears nothing. Watch them flee. And tear you asunder. Cut to the chase. A crushing skirmish of heaven and earth. Strike a nerve hitting my spine. Give way. Like cherry carnage. Cursed be.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack.
Cursed be the path of darkness.
Your top tower has fallen.
Shriek when you see me.
Your top tower is under attack.
Mist of my life. Wise, flee my footfalls. Dispossessed. Cut and run. Demons head. Strike a nerve hitting my stride. Watch them flee. Wise, Mishka. Tis a solemn undertaking. I'm not ready.
Dire structures are fortified.
I'm gonna foul.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Shriek when you see me. Conjuration. Like cherry carnage. Tempt my
Your
blade
bottom
like
tower
flesh.
is under attack. Your bottom tower is under attack.
Cursed
Your
be.
bottom tower has fallen. Your bottom barracks are under attack. The enemy's top tower, your bottom barracks, has fallen. Your bottom barracks has fallen.
Athwart my path.
Dire structures are fortified. Your middle tower is under attack.
I'm not ready.
Radiant structures are fortified. Your middle tower has fallen. Your middle barracks are under attack. Your middle barracks has fallen. Your middle barracks has fallen.
Tear you asunder.
Your top tower is under attack.
Crushing skirmish.
Your top tower has fallen.
I steal watch them flee. Now you suffer.
Your top barracks are under attack. Your top barracks has fallen. Your top barracks has fallen. The enemy's top tower has fallen.
Give way.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has fallen. Your middle tower is under attack.
Not yet.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has fallen.
Stand my way, why don't you? Shriek when you see me.
Your ancient is under attack.
My aggrandizement increases. Fear
Your ancient
fears
is
nothing.
under attack. Radiant victory.
看住，生气吧，哥哥。
Captivity every time.
Sell a group of stocks. So this is different than our portfolios where we're just buying and holding. So they've got that also, but they're buying the stocks they think will be winners. And then they're selling, which means if the stock goes down in value, they profit. Stocks that they think will be losers. And it's called a hedge fund because they are hedged against market-wide movements. So let me give you an example. Suppose the market drops by 20%. And if we're just in our index fund, we're going to lose 20%. So for this hedge fund, they've got a long portion, the stocks that they buy, and suppose that those stocks lost 20%. So just like the market. And then the stocks that they're selling, suppose those stocks drop by 30%. Well, with the short side, it means the hedge fund profited plus 30%. So on one side of the portfolio, they lost 20. The other side, they gained 30. So overall, they're up 10. So even though the market tanked by 20%, this hedging of having both a long side and a short side, they make money. So relatively immune to overall market movements. Thank you for all the questions. I really appreciated them. Keep them coming. Until next time, I'm Cam Harvey.
Baru Sogurt Hot Crispy Chicken Nugget yang pedasnya ngena, bikin mood auto good.
An October evening in 2016, an Arkansas farmer was sitting in his pickup truck just outside his field, and he was growing impatient. Suddenly, another car pulled up beside him, so the farmer got out. Seconds later, he was murdered. The farmer's name was Mike Wallace. He wasn't killed over money or land. He was killed over a herbicide, a chemical designed to destroy weeds. This herbicide spread fear through rural America, turning farmers against each other, all because it belonged to a certain company.
This company's policies, they pitted farmer against farmer, and they could just send henchmen to your door. Even if you just had the wrong seeds in your field, they could send you to court and bankrupt you.
In effect, they had a farmland monopoly. They owned more than 80% of the seeds planted in the United States.
And to get this monopoly, they played the legal system,
Colluding with corrupted EPA officials.
twisted scientific evidence,
Appears to have been caught red-handed.
but the chemicals they were making destroyed the health of communities all over the world.
This is a video about Monsanto, one of the biggest agricultural companies in the world. Our investigation is based on publicly available documents, recordings, and third-party opinions. All sources are linked in the description. In 1942, a chemist named Franklin D. Jones made an unusual enemy: poison ivy. See, his children had a very violent reaction to the plant. They would get intense rashes and swelling when they brushed up against the ivy. So Jones wanted a way to kill it. He experimented by spraying the ivy with hormones, chemicals that could regulate the plant's functions the same way they do in humans and animals. His hope was that one of these hormones would cause it to die. Unfortunately, many had no effect, and others only made the ivy grow better. But then, one day, Jones noticed that certain samples began to show autumn colors much sooner than they should have. He watched as the vibrant hues turned to twisted shapes, and then, within days, these plants shriveled up and died. Jones checked the chemical he sprayed them with, and surprisingly, it was a growth hormone called 2,4-D. It's an acid made up of a ring of 6 carbons and hydrogens called a benzene ring, with an acid tail. There are also 2 chlorine atoms in the 2 and 4 positions of the ring, which is why it's called 2,4-D. To keep things tidy, we don't have to draw all these carbons and hydrogens, but keep in mind they're still there. Jones realized this synthetic hormone was incredibly potent. Tiny amounts of it would still encourage the ivy to grow, but if he sprayed on a lot of it, 2,4-D would trigger such uncontrollable and unsustainable growth that the poison ivy would die in the process.
So effectively, he had plant cancer in a bottle.
I was just gonna say plant cancer.
Right?
That's immediately where my brain went. What was even more remarkable was that it only targeted the ivy. The grass around it was barely affected, like it was resistant to 2,4-D.
So over the next 2 years, Jones performed over 100 different experiments by pouring the herbicide into many different plant species. And what he figured out was that 2,4-D was really picky. It killed broad-leaved weeds like dandelions, chickweed, and poison ivy, but it virtually ignored crops. Wheat, corn, and barley were all mostly unaffected by 2,4-D because all of these are species of grass.
To improve this pickiness further, Jones also tested chemicals similar to 2,4-D. He found that adding another chlorine to the benzene ring, transforming it to 2,4,5-T, left grasses even more unscathed. He was onto something huge.
Because up until then, farmers could get rid of weeds one of 2 ways. Either you spray them with dangerous chemicals like arsenic, or you have to pull the weeds out manually. Either way, you're at a loss. But with 2,4-D and 2,4,5-T, you could spray your entire crop field, and only the weeds would die.
Jones had stumbled upon the first practically viable selective herbicides, so he was quick to patent them in 1945, just as the war was ending. After the Allies' victory, the patent secrecy restrictions in most countries were lifted, and it turned out that there were other scientists, both in the US but also in the UK, who discovered these herbicides independently.
Soon, the world was blessed with modern miracle weed killers, like Weedun and Weedabomb and Endoweed, all formulations of 2,4-D and 2,4,5-T herbicides.
This man is ready to kill weeds because he's going to do it the easy way.
These chemicals literally replaced the hoe in everything from farm fields to railroad tracks and sidewalks. And they are essentially what gave us that beautiful green American lawn, just grass and nothing else. Because with these herbicides, Dad knew there was no longer any excuse for a weedy lawn.
By the late 1940s, the herbicide business had turned into a roughly $10 million industry, and everyone wanted in, including one of the biggest chemical companies at the time, Monsanto. One of Monsanto's main herbicide factories was in Nitro, West Virginia, where they pumped out almost a ton of 2,4,5-T a day. By 1949, Monsanto's business was booming, when all of a sudden, the plant exploded. Over 100 workers rushed out to see a dark cloud rising 40 meters above the factory. They watched as a black, stinking powder started raining down on their faces. Within hours, many of these men fell ill. First, they got headaches and nausea, but then their skin began to erupt with bumps, pustules, and acne. The lesions on some of the workers' faces got so bad that Monsanto's on-site doctors had to peel off layers of their skin in an attempt to remove them. The doctors later noted that when these men are in a closed room together, there is a strong odor. They wrote, "We believe these men are excreting a foreign chemical through their skins." But neither the doctors nor anyone else at Monsanto knew what the chemical was, because both 2,4,5-T and 2,4-D were marketed as very safe.
You want to know what's wild? Most people are going to enter 2026 still asking AI random questions like it's Google. Here's what you should be doing instead. Watch.
Stop. Please stop using ChatGPT like it's Google.
Dire's bottom tower is under
See, when the herbicides were first getting introduced, Jones, the original inventor, even remarked that he knew people who would accidentally drink or spray the herbicides onto themselves, and they suffered no ill health effects. They were fine. And one of the doctors, after him, remarked that I've personally taken 1/2 a gram of pure 2,4-D a day for 3 weeks. You judge the results. It was the 40s, so people were a bit crazy, but yeah, it seemed pretty safe.
Back at Nitro, Monsanto analyzed all the other ingredients they were using to make 2,4,5-T, but they still couldn't find what was causing their workers' skin to erupt in this way. This is where their search seemingly stopped.
With no culprit, the conditions at the plant stayed mostly the same, and Monsanto just offered their workers a choice. Either you'll keep on working with 2,4,5-T, or you can take the gate.
For many, this was no choice at all, since there were hardly any other jobs in town. So most of the workers stayed, with something inside the factory poisoning them for years to come.
It wasn't until 1957, 8 years after the explosion, that a German dermatologist, Karl Schulz, found himself treating patients with similar-looking lesions and acne. He wasn't surprised by the symptoms because many of these patients worked in 2,4,5-T factories around Hamburg. But when Schulz would test these ingredients from the instruction list on rabbit ears he had at the lab, he would get no reactions. And this puzzled him. How do these ingredients do nothing in his own tests, but at the same time cause these painful skin disorders inside 2,4,5-T factories?
Well, to make 2,4,5-T, you start with tetrachlorobenzene, a benzene ring with 4 chlorine atoms attached to it. These chlorine atoms are very electronegative, so they want to steal electrons from nearby atoms. Luckily for them, the 6 carbons in the benzene ring are all sharing their electrons in these fuzzy donut-shaped clouds around the ring. That's what this circle in the diagram is meant to represent. The chlorine atoms pull on this electron cloud, bringing it closer to themselves, and as a result, the carbons in the benzene ring become slightly positively charged, and the chlorines slightly negatively charged. Now, if you heat up tetrachlorobenzene with sodium hydroxide, one of the negative hydroxide ions will want to bind to one of the slightly positively charged carbons in the benzene ring. And to do that, it forces out the chlorine atom, taking its place. This creates trichlorophenol, or TCP, a key ingredient in making the herbicide. From here, if you keep the reaction at 170 degrees Celsius, you can add a series of chemicals.
My bow is drawn. Prepare for battle. My sentiments as well. Silent as mist. So be it. Good enough. To battle. Onward. 30 seconds to battle. Arrow, fly. Very well. I go in silence. Agreed. Yes. Alert and taut, ready to fly. That was me.
Was that first blood? Was it me? Oh, that's a mean riff.
Good enough. Agreed. My bow is drawn. I shall nip denied. So be it. Death. Feel the bite of frost. Way ahead of you. To battle. Yes. Forward. Onward. Your fate is sealed. Very well. My sentiments as well. Silent as that was my fault. Arrow, find your target. I go in silence. So be it. To battle. Feel my cold embrace. I go in silence. Don't you dare. Forward. My bow is drawn. My sentiments as well. Way ahead of you. Yes. Quiver. Very well. Agreed. Good enough. Onward. Silent. Breathe out. Cold wind.
Makes it kind of hard to play, but I'll manage.
That is my fault. So be it. Agreed. I'll cut a notch with your name on it. Not this time. Feel the frost. My bow is forward. Your middle tower is under attack. I go in silence. To battle. That was my thought. Good enough. Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower is under attack. Onward. Yes.
Gagarex guide my arrows.
That was my thought. Agreed. Silent. Your top tower is under attack.
You're doing very well. I'm very proud of you.
Die alone. Into the fray. Onward. Bite, frost. My sentiments as well. My bow is drawn. Way ahead of you. Into the fray. I go in silence. Good enough. I'm under attack. Yes. Silence afflicts thee. Your middle tower is under attack. Let me get my arrows back, and then you can die. Your fate is sealed. Your middle tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified. Your middle tower is under attack. Battle. Your middle tower is under attack. Yes. Your middle tower has fallen. Feel the frost. That was my thought. I go in silence. My sentiments as well. Attack.
Oh, that's a mean lift.
Aaron, find your target. Feel my cold embrace. Feel the bite of frost. Pride of the drow. Very well. Death comes silently. Silent as mist. Way ahead of you. Agreed. Arrow, fly. Ice shall nip my enemies. Onward. Stand and
Your
deliver.
top tower is under attack.
My bow is drawn.
Your
Quiver.
top tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
Good enough. So be it. Arrow, fly. To battle. I'll cut a knot with your name on it. Attack. Quiver. Arrow, find your target. Way ahead of you. I go in silence.
Dire's structures
Onward.
are fortified.
My sentiment.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Yes.
Your bottom tower has
Good
fallen.
enough. At last. Forward. Silent as mist. I'll cut a knot with your name.
Your
on it.
middle tower is under attack.
My bow is drawn. Very well. Agreed. So be it. Agreed.
Radiant's courier has been killed.
My sentiments as well. I go in silence. Very well. That was my thought. Every little bit counts. Feel the frost. My bow is drawn. Feel the bite of frost. Death comes silently. Way ahead of you. Onward.
top tower is under attack. Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower has fallen to battle.
Silent is mist. Your fate is sealed. Feel my cold embrace. Good enough. Silent is mist. My sentiments as well. Light frost.
Oh, that's a mean riff.
Way ahead of you. Onward. There's room. My bow
Your
is
bottom
strong.
tower is under attack.
That is my word. Good enough. Agreed. My bow is drawn.
What a beaut.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
How came I here? Forward. I go in silence. Very well. So be it. Yes. Good enough. Into the fray.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
Agreed. My sentiments as well. I shun my enemies. Very well. Way ahead of you. To battle. thought.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Onward. So
Your
be it.
bottom tower is under attack.
Forward.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Arrows fly. My bow is drawn.
Your shrine has fallen to the dead.
Yes. The burn sounds. Onward. Way ahead of you. Yes. Good enough. Cut a knot with your name on it. Quiver. To battle. That was my thought. As deep as forest shade. My sentiments as well. Agreed. So my bow is silent as mist. Uh-huh. Very well. Agreed. Forward. My sentiments as well. Silent as mist.
Oh, that's a mean riff.
Your middle tower is under
Arrow
attack.
fodder. Yes. So be it. That was my thought. Feel my cold embrace. Way ahead of you. Death comes silently. Very well. Onward. Good enough. Stand and deliver.
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen.
I go in silence. My bow is drawn. Battle. Yes. My bow is drawn. Good enough.
Oh, that's a mean
Very well.
Radiant structures are fortified. Your top tower is under attack.
Forward. Silent as mist. To battle. Way ahead of you. So be it. Feel the force. That was my thought. Not for me.
Your top tower is under attack.
Feel the axe of ash!
That's a mean riff.
Your top tower is under attack.
What's
That's
this?
a mean riff.
Agreed. Remember. My sentiments as well.
Oh, that's a mean riff.
Agreed.
Your top tower is under attack.
Silent as mist. Yes.
Your top tower is under attack.
Way
Dire
ahead of you.
structures are fortified. Your top tower is under attack.
Good enough. That was my thought.
Your top tower is under attack.
Battle. Forward.
Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower has fallen.
Light frost.
The enemy's bottom tower
Onward.
has fallen.
Manta style. So be it. Uh-huh. My sentiments as well.
Your top
My
tower
bow
is under
is
attack.
Very well.
Double damage!
Way ahead of you. Very well. Agreed.
I'm under attack.
Oh, that's
That
a
was my
mean
thought.
riff.
Arrow, fly. I'll take that. My bow is drawn. I shall meet my enemies. Onward. Intrigue. I go in silence. So be it. Silent as mist.
Radiant structures are fortified. Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle
Enough.
tower is under attack.
My
Your middle
sentiments as
tower
well.
has fallen.
Forward. Silence.
Your middle tower is under attack.
My bow.
Your
is
middle
drawn.
tower is under attack.
I go in silence. Forward. That was my thought. I'll take that. Arrow, find your target. Your fate is sealed. Feel the bite of frost. Into the fray. Arrow fly. Yes. Onward. Attack. Agreed. Silent as mist. Uh-huh. So be it. To battle. Good enough. Very well. My sentiments as well. To battle.
Roshan has fallen to the Radiant.
My bow is drawn. Every little bit counts. That was my thought. I go in silence. Can this be?
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has fallen. Your middle barracks are under attack. Your middle barracks has fallen. Your middle barracks are under attack. Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower has fallen. Your top barracks are under attack. Your top barracks has fallen. Your top barracks has fallen.
Arrow fly.
Your bottom tower has been denied.
Yes. Silent as mist. The price you pay.
He didn't spend years training his
So be
cave
it.
just to sit on the sidelines now.
Good enough. My sentiments as well.
Your bottom tower is under attack. tower is under attack. Your bottom tower has fallen.
To grow out this oxygen tail into an acid, giving you 2,4,5-T.
On paper, this is all there is. If you follow the exact steps here and control the conditions, then none of these ingredients will explain the horrible face eruptions that the nitro workers were experiencing. But Schultz wasn't satisfied with this. Maybe the conditions aren't perfect. Maybe there is something in this process, some secret reaction that is contaminating the whole chemical supply.
Ideally, the industrial process of transforming tetrachlorobenzene into 2,4,5-T should happen at 170 degrees Celsius, but if the temperature gets any higher, even just a few degrees higher, there is suddenly enough energy in the system for two molecules of TCP to fuse together. This creates a molecule commonly known as dioxin. It forms only in trace amounts, so you might expect to end up with roughly 1 or 2 molecules of dioxin for every 100,000 molecules of 2,4,5-T. It seemed too small to be a problem. Nevertheless, Schultz decided to test it. He took some TCP, this time contaminated with trace amounts of dioxin, and rubbed it into his own skin. And he got the same acne as the workers at the nitro plant.
Once Schultz realized the threat here, he immediately contacted all the big chemical producers in Germany. And one of these German companies even sent letters to both Monsanto and Dow, the other big herbicide producer in the US, and they warned them that the acne-causing effects are stemming from pollution through byproducts, referring to dioxin. They even listed when exactly during the process the contamination was happening and what to do to prevent it. Yet Monsanto denied ever getting these letters, and Dow said they somehow misfiled them. Regardless, it was obvious to both companies that something in the production of 2,4,5-T was poisoning their workers. But Monsanto didn't warn the public about the danger, perhaps because the herbicides were about to make them a whole lot of money.
In 1961, the president of South Vietnam was at war with the newly founded Viet Cong. This guerrilla force was set on overthrowing his rule and uniting Vietnam under a communist regime. The Viet Cong were masters of the jungle. They laid deadly traps for their enemies and ambushed them using underground tunnels. South Vietnam was losing the war, so the president faced a choice: either accept defeat in the jungle or destroy it. He reached out to his allies, the US, and asked them for help. And soon they came in flying with thousands of barrels of herbicide. This was the start of Operation Ranch Hand.
세상에 세 번의 우연은 없다고 했죠.
약혼자도 김현지도 당신이 죽였나? 무슨 일이 있었는지 똑바로 말해.
나를.
The US's herbicide of choice was Agent Orange, a 50-50 split of 2,4-D and 2,4,5-T, supplied by the US's biggest chemical manufacturers. The largest supplier by volume was Monsanto. Agent Orange ravaged through South Vietnam, destroying 20% of the jungles, and civilians and soldiers on both sides got sprayed with it too, mostly by accident. The government assured them that it is not toxic to humans, animals, or drinking water, but Monsanto and Dow knew otherwise. See, during Ranch Hand, they secretly exchanged information on their herbicides, and in one of the letters, Dow acknowledged that dioxin, which had been contaminating 2,4,5-T for years, was the most toxic compound they have ever experienced, and that even trace amounts of it caused incapacitating acne.
By 1965, it was obvious that both companies understood what sort of threat dioxin was. And yet, there are no records that Monsanto or Dow ever sent communication to the US government warning them about the threat.
In fact, Dow's vice president reportedly said, if the government learns about this, the whole industry will suffer. As a result, the US sprayed South Vietnam with 72 million liters of Agent Orange, within which was just 80 liters of dioxin. And even though that doesn't seem like
that Monsanto or Dow ever sent communication to the US government warning them about the threat.
In fact,
threat dioxin was. And yet, there are no records that Monsanto or Dow ever sent communication to the US government warning them about the threat.
In fact, Dow's vice president reportedly said, if the government learns about this, the whole industry will suffer. As a result, the US sprayed South Vietnam with 72 million liters of Agent Orange, within which was just 80 liters of dioxin. And even though that doesn't seem like much, the damage was irreparable. Civilians and soldiers on both sides suffered from skin diseases and cancer. Children were born with physical and mental disabilities. By some estimates, as many as 3 million people suffered from the effects of Agent Orange. This outraged the public. In 1967, 5,000 scientists signed a petition to the president condemning his use of the herbicides. And Monsanto was under scrutiny too, because regulators were catching on to the dioxin contained in 2,4,5-T. The herbicide was about to be phased out, compromising their bottom line. Monsanto needed a miracle, and they needed it fast. Their idea was to replace 2,4,5-T with a safer herbicide, but after 9 years of research, they weren't getting anywhere. All of the scientists in the agricultural department referred to this new initiative as a dead area.
One of the last remaining scientists on the project was John E. France, and by early 1970, he was about to give it up too. But before abandoning the project, France decided to do one final set of experiments. So he thought up 19 possible acids that could maybe work as herbicides and decided to test them out. He prepped the first herbicide, but nothing happened. The plant was completely fine and the herbicide had no activity. Then he decided to test the second herbicide, and he applied it to a plant. But nothing happened. Prepped acids that could maybe work as herbicides and decided to test them out. He prepped the first herbicide, but nothing happened. The plant was completely fine and the herbicide had no activity. Then he decided to test the second herbicide, and he applied it to a plant. It was 10 times more powerful than any herbicide the team had ever seen. And allegedly, it made the plants super nasty. It made the plants super nasty. Oh, that was disgusting.
This miracle compound was glyphosate, a phosphonic acid group on one end and a carboxyl group on the other, with a nitrogen, hydrogen, or amino group in between.
To make sure it was commercially feasible, France and his colleagues set up tests in these outdoor fields. And as one of the scientists was getting back to these test sites, he saw the results from the plane. It was clear as day. All he could do was write Eureka across the performance report. It was the best herbicide they'd ever seen.
So what made it so great at killing plants? Well, for plants to survive, they use a chemical pathway, a series of reactions to create 3 important amino acids, acids without which they die. This process is known as the shikimate pathway because it starts with shikimic acid, named after the Japanese shikimi flower. During one of the steps, 2 acids, S3P and PEP, need to transform into a third compound, but they can only do that with the help of an enzyme called EPSPS, which catalyzes the reaction and helps the 2 molecules combine. However, if glyphosate is present during this reaction, it will begin to mimic PEP because they have a very similar geometry. And because of that, glyphosate actually binds first to EPSPS, blocking it from acting as a catalyst. Now the acids can't transform and the whole shikimate pathway is destroyed. Without it, there are no amino acids and the plant dies. Crucially, the shikimate pathway is unique to plants and things like bacteria and fungi. Humans and animals don't have it. In fact, we have to eat foods that contain these 3 amino acids.
But for Monsanto, this was good news because they could market that glyphosate targets an enzyme found in plants, but not in humans or pets. So after decades of toxic products, Monsanto finally had one which they were sure was safe. And research was also showing that after you spray glyphosate, the microorganisms in the soil break it down into safe byproducts. It was biodegradable. Glyphosate was perfect, so they wasted no time in getting it on the market. In 1974, Monsanto had a new hit herbicide, Roundup.
Roundup is better. It goes through the plant to kill it, tops and rhizomes.
My roots hurt real bad. Hank!
Roundup, no root, no weed, no problem.
Farmers loved it because, unlike 2,4-D, glyphosate killed
Woi, mau hemat jalan kemana-mana? Langsung aja.
every weed, not just broadleaf ones, but grassy too. It allowed them to practice something called no-till farming. See, usually, to get rid of weeds, you'd have to plow up the entire field before planting anything, and that would hurt the soil, and it was also just a lot of work. But with Roundup, what you do is you spray the whole field, everything dies, and then you just plant directly into the residue. It was easier, faster, and cheaper. And Roundup was safe to use too. They marketed it as safer than table salt and safe enough to drink, basically.
Roundup can be used where kids and pets will play and breaks down into natural materials.
By the late 80s, Monsanto was selling 7 million pounds of Roundup and making $1 billion each year. And they weren't going to share a penny of that money with anyone.
See, with other herbicides, like, for example, Alachlor, which was moderately popular at the time, you can tweak the molecule a bit here or there, and you still get a very potent weed killer. So if you patented a specific herbicide, your competitors could still use hundreds of its close relatives, which would still work perfectly well without violating your patent rights. But glyphosate was different. If you were to modify the molecule in any way, its herbicidal properties were completely gone. So Monsanto could rest easy knowing that until the year 2000, they would be the only ones able to sell it.
But there was a little problem with glyphosate. See, unlike 2,4-D, which only killed broadleaved weeds, Roundup kills everything. I sprayed some of my own houseplants here, and, well, you can see the results. Chances are, if it's green, Roundup is going to kill it. And this was a problem because farmers could only really spray Roundup on their field twice, either right before planting the seeds or right after a harvest. But for Monsanto, this wasn't as much of a problem. See, they thought if we could somehow make the crops, like soybean or corn, resistant to Roundup, well, then farmers could spray it on their field during the whole year, and it would keep killing the weeds, but not the Roundup-resistant crops. Crops which Monsanto could sell them. And as a result, they would have a complete monopoly over both the herbicide and the seed supply.
Monsanto's idea was this. If glyphosate blocks the EPSPS enzyme in plants, then they could edit the plant's DNA so that the cells just create more EPSPS. If there's enough of the enzyme, then glyphosate can't block all of it, and so the plant can still survive. They tried this out on petunias, but it didn't work. The flowers would survive a tiny amount of Roundup, but a normal dose would still kill them.
Monsanto was kind of stumped, and they didn't have time to rest because while glyphosate and Roundup were under their patents, a Roundup-resistant seed wasn't, and their competitors knew this. In 1985, a company called Calgene published a paper in Nature showing that they made tobacco slightly resistant to glyphosate. The paper showed promise, but more importantly, it made it clear to Monsanto that they were running out of time. Their researchers were desperate, calling this patent race the Manhattan Project. And then one of the engineers had a genius idea. Monsanto had a ton of these factories where they were converting phosphate into glyphosate. And they had a lot of sludge leaching out of these factories. So if there was anything living around these factories in this sludge, there was a chance it was resistant to glyphosate. So the researchers went to one of these factories, scooped it out, and found a strain of Salmonella in there, which was kind of surprising to them because Salmonella usually relies on the shikimate pathway. But here it was thriving in glyphosate.
Monsanto's scientists isolated the Salmonella's genetic sequence and found that it had evolved a way to mutate the shape of its EPSPS enzyme so that glyphosate couldn't bind to it and block the shikimate pathway.
The scientists took that Salmonella DNA and loaded it onto a gene gun. Not this one here, but it's actually surprisingly similar.
See, they placed thousands of these Salmonella DNA strips onto microscopic gold particles in the gene gun, which they then fired into the plant tissue all over at 1,400 kilometers per hour. The gold particles would bombard the plant cells, and some of them would make it into the nucleus. Here, the DNA detaches from the gold, and it integrates itself into the plant's chromosomes. Now, every time this cell divides, it copies over the new EPSPS gene.
Monsanto scientists planted seeds with these genes out in the field and sprayed them with Roundup. but nothing happened. The soybean was resistant. Monsanto made sure to act quickly. Soon after, they found even more potent bacteria, and they were able to make other crop species immune too.
And by 1998, they had patents for glyphosate-resistant canola, corn, and cotton. They called this lineup of GMO seeds Roundup Ready. These Roundup Ready seeds took over the market in an instant. Already by 2001, more than 70% of all soybeans grown in the US were Monsanto's, with Roundup making them more than $2.5 billion a year. It was the best-selling agricultural product ever.
And every farmer could join in on this Roundup plus Roundup Ready revolution just by signing Monsanto's technology use agreement. I got one of these agreements from 2011 here, and I just wanted to read some terms. So the grower, or the farmer, who accepts and wants to use these seeds, agrees to not save or clean any crop produced from the seed for planting, and the farmer also agrees not to supply the seed produced from the seed to anyone for planting. Meaning you cannot save the seeds you bought last year to plant this year, and you also cannot share or sell your seeds to anyone else. Here's another one. The farmer agrees to identify and allow Monsanto and its representatives access to the land farmed by the grower or the farmer, and this allows Monsanto to examine and take samples of the crops, crop residue, or the seeds located therein. And here's a final one. The grower accepts the terms of the following notice requirement by signing this agreement or by opening a bag of seeds. So you're agreeing to these terms even just by opening a bag of seeds. If you thought that this contract was crazy, you should see the stuff that we sign up to today online. I have some terms and conditions here from a social media website. Here's what it says. We may collect biometric identifiers, and we may infer your attributes, such as age range and gender. So they're able to scan your face and sell that data to advertisers. And just in the last couple of months, companies have been making these aggressive pushes to their terms and conditions to try and get more of your data, and they can use it to train AI models or just sell it as we make and gender. So they're able to see them just all bag of seeds. If you thought that this contract was crazy, you should see the stuff that we sign up. Here's what it says. We may collect biometric identifiers, and we may infer your attributes, such as age range, and just in the last couple of your data, and they can use it to track emails and phone calls, location history. And all of that is perfectly, people can buy it too, even stuff like your location history. And all of that is perfectly legal, but luckily you can take steps to prevent it with the help of today's sponsor, and contacted side Roundup Ready seeds.
Monsanto's seeds
had to sign. Video.
Well, couldn't farmers just decide not to use Monsanto's seeds and herbicide?
The thing was, you have Roundup Ready seeds and you spray them with Roundup, everything's gonna be fine on your end. But your neighbor doesn't have Roundup Ready seeds, so if your herbicide drifts over to your neighbor's side, it's gonna kill his plants. So neighbors were concerned, thinking their crops were gonna be lost, so they got Roundup Ready as well, and soon enough, Monsanto controlled the whole market.
And the control didn't end there. As one seed grower from Ohio remembers it, Monsanto's salesmen would tell people they could either sign on or they'd all be out of business within the next 2 years. Monsanto was going to dominate the entire seed industry, and there was nothing anybody could do about it.
So hundreds of thousands of farmers signed the deal, and it wasn't a good one.
One evening in late July 2004, an Indiana farmer named Dave Runyon was relaxing at home when two men knocked on his door.
They led me to believe that they were doing a survey for a magazine. They wanted to know what kind of crops I planted. They wanted to know what kind of herbicides I used, the seed I bought and purchased and used.
Runyon wasn't interested, so he decided to shut the door when he heard one of the men say, "I think he's guilty." Runyon didn't know what they meant, but a few months later, he got a letter from Monsanto saying that he had 7 days to turn over all of his business records to the company.
He was shocked because Runyon was one of the few farmers that never signed a contract with Monsanto, and yet here they were threatening to sue him for patent infringement.
Apparently, someone had tipped Monsanto off that Runyon had been replanting their seeds illegally. And farmers all across the country were getting the same types of letters.
Honestly, it's kind of hard to overstate how much Monsanto tried to control farmers. They sent private detectives and ex-cops to inspect farms all over the US, waving their terms and conditions of the contract into farmers' faces to let them onto their property. They hired plane and helicopter pilots to survey the farmlands from above for signs of infringement.
The lawsuits, the threats, how could people possibly stand up to them?
And they even had a company hotline, 1-800-ROUNDUP, that farmers could call to snitch on their neighbors.
It still exists. 1-800-ROUNDUP.
You're calling them now?
I think I got it right.
If you have information about the misuse of seed or a compliance issue, please press 3.
That phone number was in existence at the same time that we're talking about there, where people could rat out, their neighbor.
As Runyon himself puts it, there is much mistrust in the countryside today. You never know who might report on you. You could actually willfully plant unauthorized seed in somebody's land if you want to destroy them.
Now, in 2010, Monsanto responded to farmers' concerns about these investigations and released a commitment statement regarding their patents. They mentioned their pledge to transparency and ethical behavior, properly introducing themselves with displayed identification, and not exercising their patent rights when only trace amounts of their seed is present in a farmer's field.
And while Monsanto ultimately ended up letting Runyon go, by 2013 they sued over 400 farmers, raking in over $20 million. Many of these farmers went bankrupt, and countless others settled with Monsanto out of court, even if they were innocent, because they just couldn't risk the legal fees.
They were actually influencing radio stations at one point, and the radio stations would publicly say the name of the people who were saving Roundup seeds on air.
It sounds like a supervillain plot.
Really? Yeah, well, people actually started calling them Monsanto, so... This culture of fear and paranoia turned neighbors against each other, especially in communities where some farmers didn't wish to use Monsanto's herbicide system. One of those farmers was Mike Wallace. See, Mike had a field of soybean here that wasn't resistant to Monsanto's herbicide. But his neighbor, who was also growing soybean, did use Monsanto's system. Now, to be clear, this herbicide wasn't glyphosate itself. It was Monsanto's other herbicide product called dicamba, but it was still packaged in this Roundup and Roundup Ready system. Now, one day, Mike noticed that some of his soybean was dying, and he suspected it was the herbicide from the neighboring farm drifting over, killing.
Onward. Very well. To battle. That was my thought. Silent as mist. My sentiments as well. 30 seconds to battle. Yes. Good enough. My bow is drawn. Way ahead of you. Agreed. The battle begins, so be it. I'm notched, I'm taut, I'm ready to fly. Forward. I go in silence. Onward. Finally. Forward. My bow is drawn. Very well. I go in silence. That was
Silent as mist. My sentiments as well. Pride of the drow. Agreed. Good enough. Way ahead of you. Yes. Way ahead of you. Forward. My bow is drawn. So be it. My sentiments as well.
Dyer's courier has been killed.
Good enough. Yes. Wait some more. Very. Silent as mist. Agreed. Onward. Every little bit counts. I go in silence. That was my thought. Battle. Battle. Good enough. Death comes silently. That was my thought. So be it. Yes. Very well. Silent as mist. My bow is drawn.
Your top tower is under attack.
Agreed. Fair trade. Way ahead. I go in silence. Forward. My sentiments as well.
Radiant structures are fought.
My sentiments as well. There's is silence. Take you. Back into the fray. To battle. Agreed. I go in silence. Forward. Very well. Good enough. top is missing. I shall lick my enemies. Silent as mist. That was my thought. My bow is drawn. I see death.
Is soybean.
I know I should respect the dead, but first you have to earn it. My bow is drawn.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Into the fray.
Your top tower is under attack.
Silent as mist. I thought you'd never ask. Bite, Frost. Very well. So be it. The secrets of the wood are mine.
Double damage.
My sentiments as well. Your fate is sealed. Yes. I'll cut a notch with your name on it. Feel my cold embrace. Good enough. I go in silence.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
Feel the frost. Arrow, fly. Forward. Onward. That was my thought. I'm under attack. I go in silence. To battle. Agreed. Very well. My bow is drawn. Onward. Quiver. Yes. Feel the bite of frost. That was my thought. Silent as mist. My sentiments as well.
Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower has fallen.
So be it. Good enough.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Forward. Way ahead of you. My bow is drawn. Silent as mist.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Bite frost. There's rage.
Your middle tower
My
is under
sentiments
attack.
as well. Forward.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Go in silence. So be it. Your fate is sealed.
The enemy's bottom tower has been denied.
Feel my cold embrace. Very well. Arrow, fly. Fall.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Feel the frost. Stand and deliver.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Way ahead of you. Onward.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Feel the bite of frost. Yes. That was my thought. Onward.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Cut a knot with your name.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Death comes silent.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Yes. My sentiments as well. My bow is drawn. Silent as a mist.
Oh, hell yes.
Good enough. Agreed.
Your middle tower is
Way
under
ahead
attack.
of you. Go in
Radiant
silence.
structures are fortified. Your middle tower is under attack.
Get down. Very well. Forward. Silence afflicts thee. So be it.
Your bottom tower is under attack. Dire structures are fortified.
What's this? That was my thought.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Good enough. Arrow water. Yes. Silent as mist. I go in silence. Onward. That was my thought. Tastes so sweet. My sentiments as well. So be it. Very well. To battle. Agreed. Attack. Arrow fly. Way ahead of you. My bow is drawn. The price you pay. Feel the bite of frost. Silent as mist.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Very well. Yes. Onward. Good enough. That was my thought. I go in silence. Arrow, fly. So be it. Ah, scepter. Way ahead of you. I thought you'd never ask. My bow is drawn. My sentiments as well. Arrow fly. Bullseye. I'll cut a knot with your name on it. Into the fray. Forward. Death comes silently. Agreed. So be it. Yes. Good enough. My sentiments as well. That was my thought. I go in silence. Right, Frosty. Agreed. Feel the frost. Way ahead. My bow is drawn.
Your top tower is under attack.
To battle. Silent is mist. Forward. Onward. Arrow. Find the heart.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
My voice. Silent as mist. To battle. My damage redoubled. Good enough. Quiver. Forward. I go in silence. Rangers with kick. That was my thought.
We'll take that.
Yes. My sentiments as well. Forward. I shall meet my enemies. Silent as mist. My My sentiments as well.
Your top tower is under attack.
Very well. My bow is drawn. Onward. Cutting knot. That was my thought. Agreed. I go in silence.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Yes. Good enough. Mantis style. So be it. Silence afflicts thee.
To battle.
Quiver. My face. Graves hidden in these woods. Way ahead of you. That was my thought. The money is dead. Forward. Very well.
Dire structures are fortified.
Let me get my arrows back, and then we can die. Way ahead.
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen.
So be it.
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen. The enemy's bottom barracks has fallen. The enemy's bottom barracks has fallen.
Good trade. Good enough. Scientist missed. Yes. Into the fray.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
My time has come. So be it.
The enemy's middle barracks has fallen.
Silent as Daedalus.
As the tempest travels.
My sentiments. Death comes silently.
The enemy's middle barracks has fallen.
Bite, frost. Feel the frost.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Onward.
enemy's middle tower has fallen. Arrows fly. The enemy's middle tower has fallen. Arrow, find your target. Dire victory.